Hello everyone and welcome to this video on modelling components in Fusion 360. In this video we're going to be modelling the component that you can see on screen now. If you would like to follow along with this exercise, you can find an engineering drawing for the component in the video description below. Okay, so to begin modelling a new component, first of all we need a new design. We do that by creating a new design tab by clicking in the top right hand corner of the Fusion 360 window. In order to begin modelling this component, the first thing I want to do is create an extrude feature for the outline or the main outline of my component. So I'm going to create a new sketch by going to the Create Sketch button and picking the XY plane to sketch on. I'm then going to pick my 2-point rectangle tool and I'm going to sketch a rectangle of approximately the correct shape. I'm then going to use my sketch dimension tool in order to set the dimensions of this rectangle as per the engineering drawing, which is 105mm by 55mm. I'm happy with that sketch. I can also see that the sketch is fully constrained because all of my sketch lines have turned black, so I can click Finish Sketch. Next thing I want to do is I want to create an extrude feature for the main body of material. So I'm going to go to the Extrude tool. Now it's already automatically picked a profile that I have just sketched, so I just need to enter the height, and in this case that is a height of 20mm. I'm happy with that, so I can finish that operation by pressing OK. Now we can see that this component, we're missing quite a lot of material on the inside, and we've got this thin border of material all the way around the edge, and we know from the engineering drawing that this is a constant thickness of 2.5mm. So one easy way to create or to remove this material is by using the shell command. So I go to the Modify tab and I pick the shell command, and it's going to ask me to select the faces/body that I wish to shell. And I'm just going to pick the top face of my component and enter my 2.5mm dimension. And by picking that top face, it knows that I don't want to leave any material on that top face, and it's going to shell the remainder of the component. I'm happy with that feature, so I can press OK. Now looking back at my reference component, I also have some features in the corner where I have sort of cylinders of material with a hole through the middle. So I need to sketch these and create this extrude feature to add this material as well. So I'm going to go back to my component and I'm going to create a new sketch, and I'm going to sketch on the top face of my component. I'm going to go to my circle tool, and I'm going to put a circle on the very corner, or the inside corner of each of the edges. Also, I'm going to dimension these, so I know from my engineering drawing that these are 5mm in diameter. Okay, now before I finish my sketch, I'm going to go back to my reference component and I'll just look at what other geometry I've got there. So I can see that I've also got this hole. So I'm going to go back to my sketch. I'm going to add a second set of circles which represent the holes that I'm going to create later on. So again, I'm going to put those in a similar way. And again, I'm going to dimension these. And I know that these are all diameter 3. Okay, I'm happy with the sketch at that point, so I can press Finish Sketch. Now, I'm going to use that sketch that I've just created for two different extrude features. The first extrude feature is going to be used to add this material in the corner, and the second extrude feature is going to be used to remove the material for the hole. So inside my component, I'm going to go to the Create section, I'm going to go to my Extrude command, and I'm going to pick the profile that I wish to extrude. I can pick multiple profiles by holding down the Control key. Now in this particular instance, we can see that it's only picked this sort of quarter ring to add the material. This is absolutely fine for this application, but if we did want to add more material here, we can do. So I'm just going to pick everything for now, and you'll see why a little bit later. Okay. Once I've picked all of my profiles, I'm going to grab my blue arrow and drag that downwards. Now, because part of our sketch is interfering with existing geometry, Fusion is assuming that we are trying to do a cut command. That is not the case here. We're trying to add material, and we want that new material to be joined to the existing body. So we're going to change operation from cut to join, and we can now see that we are adding material. Now, what we could do here is we could set this height to be correct as per the engineering drawing, which would be 22.5 millimeters, which would take us all the way to this bottom face. Now, a better approach for this particular feature would be to tell Fusion 360 to extrude those profiles until they hit this bottom face. And what that will do is, if we ever resize our box, if we make our box taller, it will ensure that we've still got this material in the corners and it goes all the way to the bottom of the box and it doesn't stop short. So in order to do this, we change the extent dialog from distance to object. And now Fusion needs to know what object do we want to extrude up to, and I'm going to pick the bottom face of this box, and we can see how that's automatically created that extrude feature of the right height. Our operation is still set to join, so that's correct, so we can press OK. Now, one thing we need to be aware of is that when we have used 2D sketches to make a 3D feature, such as that extrude feature, Fusion will automatically hide the 2D sketch because it believes we've done with it and we no longer need it. Now, in this case, we're using one sketch for 2 different extrude features, so we need to turn that sketch back on so we can see it and use it. We do that by going to the browser in the top left corner, pressing the arrow next to sketches, and then it was sketch 2 that we created. And if we just press the eye icon next to sketch 2, we will see it reappear. What we're going to do next is we're going to create an extrude feature to remove the material in each of the holes. So again, we go to extrude. Again, I'm going to pick the profile for the holes. And again, I'm going to drag that blue arrow down into my material. Now this time we are removing material, so we can leave the operation as cut. And I know that these holes are 17.5 millimeters in depth, so I can change the distance to 17.5. I'm happy with that feature, so I can press OK. Now this time, because we've already turned the visibility of our sketch back on, Fusion won't automatically hide it for us, so we're going to hide that manually because we no longer need that sketch. The only thing remaining to be done is to add the round or the fillet features to this particular model, so that I can see that I have rounds on each of the corners on the outside of the model. So I'm going to go to Modify and Fillet. I'm going to pick one edge. I'm going to hold the Control key to pick multiple edges. If I pick anything by mistake, I can simply select it again and it will deselect it for me. And I'm going to get 4 edges like this. I can see that my radius is 2.5. I'm happy with that feature, so I can press OK. Now, the final thing I need to do is I need to create the radii, the fillet features on the inside of my box, on the inside of this Spar component. Again, I'm going to go to Modify and Fillet. First of all, I'm going to pick the upright or the vertical edges here. The reason that I'm going to do that, if I just quickly cancel this feature, if I was to put fillet features in the bottom here, we can see if I set this to a particular value, that my fillet will run along that edge and it will stop as soon as it hits this circular piece of material, this cylindrical piece of material in the corner of my model. Now, fillets will run until they hit a non-tangent transition. This means that if we have an edge which finishes at a square corner, the fillet will finish. If we have a chain of tangent lines, the fillet will follow those tangent lines all the way around the component. What this means is that if I create fillet features for these vertical edges first, so if I set these to I click OK, what that means is that I can now come in and do another fillet command, and I can pick one edge on the bottom, and we can see how the preview shows that it's going to pick that entire bottom edge. And again, I can set that to the correct value, and it means I only need to pick one edge here to do this entire bottom radius, rather than selecting multiple chains all the way around. It also ensures that I get the correct transitions between radii at the corners. Okay, all my features are created now, so I'll just check my reference model again. So I've got my my box, I've shelled the inside, I've created the material for my holes in the corner, I've created the holes, and then I've added the radii in the corners. Okay, I'm happy with all of that, so that's the model complete. Thank you very much for your attention.